mean, because just to be clear, you don't want people leaking classified information from the Pentagon.
Let me be clear. That is a problem at the Department of Defense. There has been things that have been shared with the media, particularly, I would say, the Panama stuff that is unacceptable. And
I've been the recipient of classified information for decades, including from the Pentagon, in the form of leaks, and every journalist who's doing his job has been. So, there's a lot of leaking of classified information, I can tell you.
But let's be honest. Everyone knows where that's coming from. It's from the career staff who don't look like what the president and the secretary and vice president want to do. There's people on the joint staff that I come to respect, but a lot of them are incredibly hostile to the secretary, to the president, and the vice president's worldview. It's pretty obvious that that's where most of the leaks are coming from. There's a less obvious place, and I just want to point something out. As we sit here today, Tucker, and this could change by the time this is aired, but as we sit here today, Susan Rice, Michelle Flournoy, Eric Edelman are still in good standing with the Department of Defense.
What?
That is correct. They are still...
Susan Rice?
Susan
the Obama
Rice,
Susan Rice?
Yes. Susan Rice is still on the Defense Policy Board.
Right now?
As we sit here today, by the time this is released, that might change. But as we sit here today, she is still on the Defense Policy Board. Now, that doesn't mean she can go in the building and get access to whatever she wants. But it means that she works with DoD employees, she can interact with them, and has the credential and the affiliation with the Department of Defense.
But so Susan Rice has no relevant experience for a job like that at all. She's a political hack.
Correct. Yet, as we sit here in April of 2025, about 100 days into the president's first term, she and a bunch of other people who are incredibly hostile to the president and his worldview remain on the Defense Policy Board.
You're sure?
You can go on the website and check it right now. And I checked with Colin and Darren, and they confirm that as well too.
Well, that's shocking.
And again, I would just say, if you want to look where leaks are maybe coming from, that would be a place to start.
So, but just back to your story, and I won't linger on it. Every time I mention this, your jaw tightens. I can feel your frustration. And I should just say point blank.
I'm frustrated at you.
Well, I'm completely convinced that this is nonsense and sinister nonsense. But if you were the subject of an investigation, a leak investigation, if the investigators had determined that you were leaking classified information to the news media, you probably wouldn't have continued to receive access to classified information, correct?
Correct, and I probably would be sitting here today.
You'd be in jail, dude. You would have been handcuffed, correct?
If I had leaked, well, again, I just want to be clear here. I still don't know if the term they used is, and that you see the DoD using, is unauthorized release of information. If I think there's a lot of rumors and people are exploiting this that we can talk about. If I actually did some of the things that anonymous people on the internet and in the Pentagon are saying I did, I'd be in handcuffs.
And you're not.
I'm not.
Yep.
I'd be like Reality Winner or Bradley Manning or Edward Snowden or one of those people.
It's very obvious to me, having far fewer details than you have, that you're one of the people who is perceived to be standing in the way of a regime change war in Iran, and that was kind of your crime. That seems obvious to me.
I think it's complicated. There's other layers to this, but based on what has been happening since then, I think that is a factor, is that I think, and it is being weaponized against me, is I think that they want to also go after, and I think that I can't say this with certainty, but just speculating, that had somebody in the White House not said, okay, we need to put a stop to this, there probably been more people treated the same way that Colin, Darren Selnick, and myself were treated.
So the fastest way to knock someone out of commission and eliminate his influence, and in your case his job, is to tell the person that he works for that person's betraying you. That person's betraying you. And so, I mean, it sounds to me, again, I'm keep putting words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like you have felt, it sounds like you still feel that your views are aligned with those of the president.
100%. I wouldn't have joined this administration if I didn't feel that way.
Well, Easter is finally here, and there's no better way to remember the story of Christ. Jesus dying for your sins is the most powerful thing that's ever happened in history. It is really the beginning of history, and it's worth celebrating. This Easter, embrace the freedom of the resurrection on Hallow, which is the #1 prayer app in the world. Join Liz Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene in The Chosen, actor Kevin James, and others in an immersive and jubilant prayer experience worthy of Easter itself. Every single day, you learn how to walk in freedom amidst the circumstances often crushing of your daily life, and let go of the things that you're attached to and that are causing suffering, and instead embrace the peace and freedom that come when you place your trust in God, which is the only place to place your trust. So enter the joy of Easter with a brief prayer reflection meditation every single day that will help you continue the habits that will change everything, the ones you established during Lent. We love Hallow here. We love the app. We know you will too. It's got thousands of prayers, meditations, music, help you build a daily habit of prayer and to grow closer to God. Download Hallow today at hallow.com/Tucker. You get 3 months for free. You'll be grateful you did. Honestly, you will be.
Again, I don't speak for the president, but here's the other thing too. I had this attitude in the Pentagon, and maybe this was, I still had this attitude that I was still, in the Marine Corps. It's like, hey, when a decision is made, when we've decided on a course of action that we're going to do this, we're going to make sure it's executed properly.
Yes.
And you still raise concerns. If you see something happening, then you can do that. But if you are so repulsed by what's happening, then you should resign.
So I think what you're saying is that you were serving your bosses, even when you personally disagreed.
Correct.
As you did in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Correct.
Okay. I don't even want to ask you, but I'm going to. How does this make you? You must feel like you're living in a dream, a nightmare.
I said earlier, sometimes I feel like it hasn't fully set in because it does feel like a dream. It's like, when am I going to wake up at 04:30 and just get ready for work and, walk my dog, drop her off at doggy daycare, and then roll into the river entrance back into the Pentagon? I feel like on some level that's happening, and it, I feel like it hasn't fully hit me, but it's been awful. The impact on my family, I'll just say I wanted to try and hide this from my mom as long as possible because I was worried. She's a worrier. I love her to death. She's a saint. I didn't want to tell her. Then an hour later, somebody leaked to Reuters describing exactly what had happened to me. And then 6 hours later, they pulled the same stunt with Darren, and then 12 hours later, they pulled the same stunt with Colin. And so, it's been devastating, and it's caused a lot of stress to my family. Just one thing I want to say is I've been a friend and supporter of Pete Hegseth for a long time, and I'm just personally devastated by this. It's just awful and whatnot, but at the end of the day, putting all this aside, Pete Hegseth needs to be a successful Secretary of Defense, and the entire Department of Defense cannot continue to be consumed by chaos. They have a great team there. They have a great Deputy Secretary. We just talked about Steve Feinberg. They have I think, one of the leading lights of the America First foreign policy movement in Bridge Colby, a dear friend of mine, running the policy shop now, effectively the Pentagon's number 3. He has a lot of great mid-level and junior staffers under him. You're going to have some great undersecretaries coming in. These are just world-class people. These are not political hacks. People like Mike Duffy at A&S, people like Emil Michaels and A&S's acquisition and sustainment at research and engineering. Service secretaries, I think, are going to be great. Dan Driscoll, even though he has a secondary job running an agency that shouldn't exist, ATF, I think he's proven to be a great Army secretary. And look, one of my favorite things, Tucker, is admitting you're wrong about people. One person I was wrong about was John Phelan. I was skeptical of him being Navy secretary, and so far I have to say him and his team are off to a great start. I think Troy Mink is going to be a fantastic Air Force secretary. And so there's this fantastic team underneath the secretary that can enable him to be incredibly successful. He has to move past this. He has to get a solid team around him in the front office. And this isn't a plea to hire me back. I candidly just want to move on and go back to doing what I was doing before and being an advocate on the outside. But you know, without Darren and I and others, he needs to get a strong team in there. And there's some great people that I think could do that.
And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs?
Oh, I have to say, this is interesting you bring him up. Chairman Dan Raisin Kane, incredibly impressive. And I actually think, if I'm being honest, one thing that has incited the building against President Trump and the secretary was the selection of him. A lot of people wanted the secretary and the president to go the normal route, including some people in the administration, and pick a combatant commander, you know, a General Kurilla or an Admiral Paparo. I actually like Admiral Paparo, but they wanted him to go that route. No, instead, they did something that needed to happen, is they pulled a very accomplished guy out of retirement, somebody who didn't do all the right things and check all the right boxes in his career, but who's incredibly smart, who's incredibly thoughtful about how he approaches problems, to be the chairman. And that upset so many career paths. Like, if you look at these books where they kind of lay out like how you promote generals, is they have like little maps about where people are going to go. And there's a lot of people that are going to go to this role in the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the vice chairman. They're going to be the chief of staff of the Army. And by elevating Kane, they upset so many career paths. And it's hard to overstate how much of a middle finger that was to a lot of the uniform leadership of the United States military. And I think that was one of the reasons why we started to see more leaks, really starting around the middle of March.
And they weren't coming from you?
No, absolutely not. And again, it's obvious to anybody who's worked in the Pentagon where these were coming from.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.